Gross. That's my review.
It's a short episode. Thank you.
I
right,
this is
everyone,
what I'm
moving
using
on.
for my background.
And that's to offset it. That's your.
As to offset how fucking revolting I found every second of this movie to be.
That is the most.
I'm not going to even say it's badly made. It's not. The acting is great.
It's an unpleasant viewing experience.
I think that's why it's so effective.
It made me want
is
to
because
set fire to things when it was over.
I think that's why it's so effective is because it is well made.
I know, but I didn't want it. You know what? Honestly, I just didn't. It was like, fuck. You know what? After the last 24 months, I didn't need this in my head.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
It's really and then to find out that like all the details are true.
Mm-hmm.
Just
well, yes and no. I mean, that's true that this happened.
What did they get? I looked it up. I mean, it seems like it got a lot of it, other than like it was a McDonald's in the real thing.
Yeah, well, this happened like it only happened. It happened like 70 times.
Right. Yeah, there was more
than
one kind of fast food place, unfortunately.
No,
I like other things this guy's made. Most recently, The Hunt, which I found sort of
Yeah, I thought that was fun
and dark as shit. Also, but this was like.
I think one of the things I remember, just to say one positive thing about it, because I totally take everyone's point about it, but part of the reason that it stayed with me, besides obvious reasons of how impactful it is, but I think that performance by Ann Dowd is just one of the most incredible things.
She's the boss or the girl?
The boss.
She's the boss.
Yeah.
Well,
who, as I mentioned before we started, is in the last episode of the first season of True Detective.
Oh.
She's the Make Flowers on Me from that episode.
First season of True Detective?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Right.
I forgot she was in that.
Yeah. She's
in
that one episode, and that's an incredible performance.
She's one of those actresses that I've never seen her give a bad everything. She's in The Handmaid's Tale. She was in Hereditary. She was in just everything she does. She's phenomenal.
Yeah. Oh,
this was definitely a day player buffet too. Everybody in this movie is in 400 other things.
Correct.
Also, Chris, I don't know if you recognized it, but you know the cop from the end is Max Payne.
Oh shit, is he?
Yeah. He's the voice actor for Max Payne. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. So
I would have liked to have seen it at the end, like the guy when they finally catch up with him, like maybe letting him be fed to a pile of wild pigs or something.
You know what
no,
happened?
because in real life he didn't even get convicted.
Yeah, he was acquitted in the real life.
Yeah.
Which apparently didn't happen by the time this film got made. So
this
they
movie
did
does not give me a warm fuzzy feeling.
No, this film was like watching it was just harrowing because once that phone rang and the guy started talking, I knew what it was talking about. You started watching it to your fingers after a while.
If I'd seen this in a theater, I probably would have walked out.
No, I just kept watching. It got more and more awful and horrible and weird as it went along. And so I just kept watching it because at one point you want to see who is going to finally call him on his bullshit.
Well, Kevin does.
Man.
Kevin does.
Kevin does immediately.
He's just like, what? No, I'm not fucking doing this. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah,
like,
and the older guy does too.
And then when the maintenance guy gets there, which again, these are all true to what really happened. There was an employee who was just like, I'm not doing this. You're wrong.
It's
like
it's an intense exercise in how what we'll do when we think authority is telling us what to do.
No, that's
right?
exactly. It's a Milgram experiment in a movie, basically.
Right.
That's why it starts with the Milgram quote.
Yeah. And, but that's what's going on. It questions you. What would you do if you thought was an authority figure telling you to do these things? Where's your breaking point be? And I think it horrified people.
Aaron would like to talk to their manager.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's just like it struck me as like cops don't do this. Cops don't do everything by the phone. They should know.
Yeah,
better.
cops are never going to do anything on the phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't beat you up.
But
also that's a good argument for Pat Healy's performance was quite amazing as well.
I don't like the fact that they started showing him during the movie. Like I think
they let the cat out of the bag a little early.
Yeah, well, that's a lot better.
I think you like a voice on the phone.
Have you ever seen Phone Booth?
Yeah.
You never see Kiefer Sutherland through that entire movie.
Yeah.
There's one point at the very, very, very end where he's blurry as they're loading him onto the stretcher, loading him on the
Yeah,
stretcher.
I remember that.
Yeah, that's it. You never see him in that movie.
Well, I think the
filmmakers
in that. I think the filmmakers' decision to do that was to assure us that this was not about sex. It was not about a perversion.
Who cares?
Well, he's making a point that this person was about control and power, and not about perverseness.
Yeah,
I mean, he definitely did perverse things.
All rape is about power, whether you do it remotely or you do it
sure, but I think that early on he wanted to show us that this guy's not sitting there, touching himself. He's making a sandwich. He's having a cigarette. It's weird.
He's changing phone cards.
Yeah,
but no,
which is how they actually caught him, was by the phone cards.
Yeah. So here's the question, and this is, I know that from reading the things, it went pretty far. Girls it'd make the girls strip, and they would do the kind of thing, but it never went to where the film went, which was
this is the one time that he was able to get everything in a line to the point where he was able to get to the thing that he wanted to do. And probably it's because of how busy the restaurant was.
Yeah.
Well, then you have a half-drunk boyfriend.
I don't think this happened in reality, just like that. It didn't go that far.
Yes, it did.
And the thing is, this
definitely went that far.
Okay.
It went further, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not good. But it also it still doesn't. My argument is that at some point you're watching the story happen, and you're seeing the story about compliance and this guy making people do things. And how much of this becomes the director's voyeuristic look at this thing? How much of it at a certain point becomes prurient?
No, this doesn't feel lurid to me. It actually feels sad. Like the entire movie feels very sad to me.
He filmed the thing that happened, and so I guess the thing that happened is extremely prurient, and so the movie is sort of prurient.
But he didn't get.
But it doesn't linger. It doesn't linger on any of.
It doesn't linger. The whole movie is a painstaking recreation of every fucking word and thing that was done.
It does,
but it doesn't linger.
It's not everything. It's not everything that was done. 2, it doesn't linger on the abuse. It doesn't linger on the part where he makes her perform oral sex on the boyfriend.
Yeah, I agree with Tad. He could have filmed this in a way that would have been, much more exploitative. I think it could
have turned into Brown Bunny.
Well,
not even Brown Bunny. Like it could have turned into L. Like
I thought it was really
okay. That's actually a good call.
I thought it was really smart because I agree with Tad. I think it was really smart when he was depicting the oral sex incident. He actually showed like a straw. He showed like the cup
that shot behind Jim's head.
And he showed that. But there were all these like interesting filmmaker choices that I felt were, I don't know, they were just I was taken with them because I was like, wow, he's really dealing with this in a way that.
I know what you mean. It was an intensifier because you're looking at things around the room, but not really the actual act, and it made it
right
because then your mind fills up with what's actually happening, and it's,
I mean,
she's only naked momentarily in the movie, whereas in the real incident, he kept making her take the apron off over and over and over again to do things. And like this doesn't do that. Like it
does it like a couple times, but
it mostly implies it. Like it's not lingering on her body. It's not doing any of that.
It's not. And when she had to bend over, like they didn't show that. They didn't show the jumping jacks. But I mean, it's still, it's sort of like, in a way, it's also like Seven, where you haven't seen everything, but you feel like you have, and it's disgusting, right?
Also, this was very much a "that's not my contract" thing. You could tell with Dream. Forget her last name.
Walker.
Walker. Yeah, there's things she was going to show, and there are things she wasn't going to show, and that was excellently done to work around that. I think.
Yeah.
No, but I think that's the right way to handle something like this. Is this is not titillating.
No,
everything about this is everything about this is unpleasant. Like it's not like it. There is a way to make this movie in an exploitative way, and they didn't do that, and I have to applaud them for it.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think that it's not a well-made movie. I hate it. I hate that it exists.
Yeah.
I hate that this happened.
The Nightingale, Tad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I'm not. Look, I'm never going to watch this again. I'm absolutely never going to watch this again. Like, I feel like it's, especially from the budget, which is something that I feel like has been an ongoing thing that we've been talking about for the last several weeks. I think for the budget, they did a very good job.
No, I'll second that. They took
on the phone.
No, they just found a couple of locations and they dressed them perfectly and realistically, and they got in there and they did this cheap. And you know what? You don't want, if it's the subject matter is unpleasant, but any filmmaker here is going to go, God damn, they got a lot of bang for their buck in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
if you want to know why I picked it, it wasn't just to gross you guys out. But because it always did stay with me. This is the second time I've seen it, and it was unpleasant. I just never forgot it, though. I think that's part of, you know, we watched so many movies, all of us. We watched so many movies throughout our lives, and there was one of the past like decade where I didn't forget it, and I also really am enamored with the performances, all of them, but specifically Ann Dowd and Pat Healy. And I think that it's weird that such amazing work came out of this very uncomfortable, you know, gross kind of movie. I don't know. It's just something that I thought it was a powerful film, even though it was really hard to watch.
I agree. Also, the thing about Dreama Walker, her character in a certain point goes from thinking this is all bullshit and I don't want to do this and this is ridiculous and please save me, to a weird blank resignation.
Yeah,
like, what happened is going to happen inevitably, and I can't do a thing about it. That's the heartbreak.
It's the beginning of post-traumatic stress.
Yeah, that's the heartbreak of the film. You realize that person just broke, you know, under this, and it wasn't. It's just it was that was the part that got to me. Just seeing her go blank, and that was just awful.
How about that like the snippet we get from the interview that Ann Dowd's character has to give at the end?
Oh. That's how
we're talking about the weather.
Yeah. It all becomes trivial, I guess, but that's how things work in America, right?
But it's
not trivial.
No, she's had to compartmentalize so much of her involvement in it that she squeezed it all down into a tiny little place that hides back here. And so when she's talking to someone about it, she has to focus on anything that isn't what they're talking about. Because when they show the video to her, she can't process what's going on. Like she flashes back to like the hands and stuff like that, but she can't process what she's actually seeing because in her mind, she didn't ask her to do that. And it's right there on the screen.
Right.
Like, I agree.
Yeah. She couldn't emotionally handle her complicity in the whole thing. That's what
I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But the complicity thing, that's just the terrible guilt that she's not dealing with. At the end, her popping into a start talking about the weather is her desperately trying to get away from what she did. And but also the whole thing about just everything, this shit happens, you're going to end up on a talk show, was also sad.
Yeah.
That was
there's always going to be a 2020 episode.
Yeah, exactly. Always. It's the damnedest thing.
So I've never worked in fast food, but I guess the viewers probably don't know this, but I've been in retail for a decade and a half.
Yeah.
I've been in management in retail. I've been in management and retail for that period of time, and we get talked to about stuff like this. Like you will get phone calls where someone says, I'm so-and-so from the corporate office and you have to do X. And usually it's not anything like this, but it's like, we need to do a refund for this person who's over here and there's a problem with their credit card. So we need you to take $100 out of the safe and go and buy a Visa gift card and mail it to this address, you know, or whatever. And a lot of people do it, like to the point that we have to have training about it, to the point that we have to have, we We have to have signs that say, don't take money out of the safe and send it to someone. Like, you know, just because.
Well, you get what you pay for.
You know what?
These are minimum wage jobs with unemployable.
No, Jim, you're on the tail of a point there. Is that these people do these things because they don't want to lose their jobs, because they'll end up on their ear on the street,
and because they're used to taking ridiculous orders from people.
And meaningless orders from the high levels.
Well, and that's the thing is, the higher up you get, the more you're used to taking orders from people, because that's how you get to that level. So
pretty much
it's easier to scam a manager than it is. It's easier to scam a manager than it is to scam a part-time salesperson, because the part-time salesperson is just like, whatever, you know, I'm just here because I want to buy money and buy some nice shoes or whatever. And the manager, if they lose their job, that's it. You know, like they're.
And I've worked some retail jobs for very big companies too, and I think that in general, a lot of these really big companies do have a nifty way of making just the lowest person working feel like they are really don't matter at all.
Oh yeah, that's the job.
And they don't matter.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And they make them feel that way.
I mean, it's easy to convince somebody that they don't matter if you treat them like they don't matter.
Yeah, then they kind of believe they don't matter, and then they'll go away if you make them go away.
Also, I will say that the beginning of this movie, the first 10-15 minutes of this movie, is probably the most realistic depiction of what a minimum wage retail food service job is like, in terms of the relationships that people have, the conversations that people have,
it all felt very real.
Pushing the envelope, she parks right next to the handicap spot, which you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to park at the back of the parking lot. And Kevin's walking up and he's like, I'm going to report you for parking in the, he's joking, but that's the kind of shit that you do in these types of jobs. You have these relationships where it is kind of us versus the world, but because it's us versus the world, you're going to have things where you rib each other, but you also talk about your relationships. And when your boss talks about their relationship, you're going to go,
it's awkward.
Who calls it sexting?
Yeah.
This is the kind of shit that you don't get in an office or stuff like that, because everything's a little flatter in that type of job.
Yeah, did you ever see a Ryan Reynolds movie called Waiting?
I did see Waiting.
I like that movie, but I didn't work customer-facing retail like you did. I worked customer-facing restaurants.
No.
Yeah, the thing I will say about Waiting is it's trying too hard to be funny. I think it could be funnier if it wasn't trying that hard.
Yeah, well, its whole thing is it's a gimmick movie, but
yeah,
I like Waiting. I think it's funny, but it's definitely. I agree with you again, Ted. The beginning of this movie felt so real. The whole world felt so real.
No.
And not trying to be funny, not trying to be serious, just actually this is how it is.
Yeah.
And
it makes the whole thing grosser as you go on, because they've established a real world.
Yeah.
You are in this scenario, and especially if you've done anything like this, you immediately empathize with these people.
Oh yeah. I never worked fast food, but I worked for a Blockbuster and a Hollywood Video. On both the low end and in management, and I saw all that shit.
You can't even go through their purse. You can make them open their purse and show it to you, but you can't put your hand in there. No.
Wait,
well, that's what I don't think you could in this film either. But that's the narrative.
She got fired because she violated several different McDonald's policies.
She thought that there was a cop saying, you have my permission. I'm going to take, over and over again. He said, I'm going to take the hit on this. I'm going to take the responsibility. You just do what I say. And because I think that, she knew, I mean, at least at the beginning of the movie, she knew I'm not supposed to be doing this. And he says to her, don't worry about it. I'm going to take all of the blame. You just need to do what I say, because this is something that's happening right now. And I need your help. And so she just clicked It's like switched.
Yeah, it's social engineering. Like
they were trying to establish something about her
social
character that like, is she kind of person who would blindly follow authority? Do you think that was going on in the beginning of the film? Like, were they trying to?
I do. Yeah.
But she's already scared of her boss.
Yeah.
Because
that's
of
part of
the
it.
thing with Freezer.
Yeah.
And she has a passive relationship reactive with her boyfriend too. It's very strange.
Yeah. And that's why she's such an interesting character, and it's such a great performance. Yeah. She's coming from a place of like, she has a small position of authority, but yet she's scared of everything around her because, you know, she's the responsibility that she has is you know, there's problems with it, like the freezer.
Well, it could be taken away at any time.
Absolutely, it could be taken away at any time. And so she is just doing her best. And she's also probably thinking, hey, I'm a 50-year-old woman who's managing a fast food restaurant. Like, you know, there's probably a lot of emotional and psychological things going on with her as well, just based on that. I think.
Yeah, if she loses that job, she has to start over from nothing because she's probably been there for 20 years.
Right.
The sad fact go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just it's an interesting performance. I mean, it's an interesting character.
Yeah, sad fact of the matter, if this happened like in a McDonald's in Denmark, where everybody's got, you know, national health care and kind of a big social safety net, someone tried to call and make someone do that, the guy might tell him to go fuck himself because they don't have to worry about losing their job because of this cop.
Yeah, you're a cop. Show up here and do it yourself.
Yeah, they would do that because they wouldn't. The fear of losing your job wouldn't be in front of them all the time.
What's the saying? Only in America.
Yeah, no shit. That's a good way to end this segment, actually.
Next time on Yelling About Movies.
My official Guanajuato guide.
I have got everything that I desired.